In 1893, folklorist Marion Wolfe Cox published Cinderella, 345 variants of Cinderella, catskin, and caporushes, abstracted and tabulated with a discussion of medieval analogues and notes. This was a text in which Cox collected and categorized over 300 takes on the Cinderella story from around the world. We all know the story of Cinderella. Girl is poor, girl becomes rich, but this story is told all over the world and comes in lots of shapes and sizes, running like individual threads through a colorful tapestry of stories that humanity tells itself. Each telling is unique, and yet stands as a mirror to its fellows, reflecting and shining through their shared details. Together they make up a multiverse of Cinderellas, teaching and leading those who care to listen as they reverberate through time and space. As Cinderella's story gets told time and time again, each new edition is yet another step into the Cinderverse. Hi, this is the series where I summarize, satirize, and even analyze as many Cinderella variants as I can crank out. Maybe it's just this one, hopefully not, but let's make it count. That being said, I want to start basic. No bears, no three-eyed sisters, no talking bones for now. Yes, those are actual plot points from other versions, but we'll get there. The brothers Grimm first published their take on the Cinderella story in 1812 as a part of their collection of German fairy tales. This is the one that got all those clickbaity titles a while back, like The Messed Up Origins of Cinderella or This Will Ruin Your Childhood, but by no means is this the actual original Cinderella story. Most scholars can't even agree on where the story originated. There are very convincing arguments for China or India or Africa, but honestly, I don't care about the scholarly debate. What's compelling to me about the Cinderella multiverse is the core story that is the foundation for all the variants. It's the building blocks that these stories share that can give us insight, not only into the unique characteristics of the cultures they come from, but the stories that speak to humanity as a whole. Can you tell I was an English major? So, the Brothers Grimm. This is a classic version that most people have heard of, at least in passing. It's also the version that shows up in Into the Woods, so there's that. Anywho, it goes like this. A rich man has a wife and beautiful daughter, but as we all know, a stable home life is boring, so someone's gonna have to die. Spoiler alert, it's always the mother. But before she dies, with her last breath, she tells her beautiful daughter to be good so that God will protect her. Then with some "I will always be with you" foreshadowing, the mother dies, leaving her daughter halfway to being an orphan, and her husband all the way to being a widower. Sorry, did I say widower? I meant bachelor! He's back on the market and ready to mingle, ladies. In no time, the father brings home a wife and her 2 daughters. As we all know, this works out perfectly for everyone involved. JK. They treat her like a servant and force her to wear rags and wooden shoes. And their favorite pastime is to throw peas or lentils into the fireplace ashes and make her sift them out. Ah yes, the original Match 3 game. Since this means that she is always covered in dirt and ash, they nickname her Cinderella, or in German, Aschenputtel. One day the father announces he is going to the fair. He asks his 3 daughters if they want any gifts while he's out. The stepsisters ask for fine jewels and dresses, but humble Cinderella merely asks for the first twig that hits his hat on his way home. The father brings home the promised gifts, and Cinderella takes the branch he brought her out to her mother's grave. Cinderella plants the branch and visits 3 times a day to water the twigs with her tears. Hardcore! I didn't know it was possible to cry tears of miracle grow, but in no time, the branch has sprouted into a tree. This tree now represents Cinderella's mother. I will be referring to it as the mom tree from now on. In order to qualify as a Disney princess, Cinderella has to have an animal sidekick, so a bird comes and perches in the mom tree and tells Cinderella that it will send down whatever she wants when she sings it a song. But what's this? Newsflash! The king is giving a festival! Everyone is invited to the hottest party of the season, where the prince is going to pick his bride. But one party isn't enough. That's right, the king is giving you not 1, not 2, but 3 whole nights of partying. Call now.
3-day fun time guaranteed. Only the coolest people will be there. Marriage to prince is not guaranteed. He might not like you, and he can only marry 1 at a time.
Everyone in the Cinderella household is pumped and start getting ready right away. But of course, when Cinderella asks if she can go, her stepfamily laughs at her and her gross rags. But the stepmother isn't entirely unreasonable. Tell you what, our favorite game will decide. If you can sift out 1 bowl of lentils in 2 hours, then you can go. Activating her Disney princess powers, Cinderella calls pigeons, turtle doves, and other miscellaneous birds to come help. They sort out the lentils in no time, and Cinderella takes them to her stepmother. Oops, did I say 1 bowl in 2 hours? Ha 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 ha, Mubby. I meant 2 bowls in 1 hour. So Cinderella calls back the birds, and they sift out twice as many lentils from the ashes.
We're getting overtime for this, right?
This time, when Cinderella takes the bowls to her stepmother, they are suspiciously near the door. Oops, it's time to go to the festival and you have nothing to wear and you can't dance and also you're ugly and we're going without you, bye! Cinderella only cries for a minute before remembering that she is the protagonist, gosh dang it, and she is going to that festival. She goes to the mom tree and sings to the bird to send down some sweet digs so she can go to the party. The bird throws down a beautiful gold and silver dress with matching slippers and tells Cinderella that she better huff it if she wants to get there on time. I was hoping for like a carriage or something. Even just a horse would be great.
No can do, little missy, not in this version. You're gonna have to get your own Aschenputtel to the festival.
So Cinderella is fashionably late, but she's still able to make a grand entrance, catching everyone's attention, including, of course, the prince. The prince will only dance with Cinderella all night, but as soon as he tries to ask her some personal information, like her name, place of residence, she panics and makes a break for the door. I mean, to be fair, talking to a prince is a very stressful social situation, especially when your closest friends are birds. To hide from the prince as he chases her, Cinderella jumps into a pigeon house.
Hey lady, this definitely counts as overtime.
But never fear, the prince has a plan. See, he had spotted Cinderella's father in the partygoers earlier. And how did he know that this random guy was her father if he didn't even know her name? Please hold your questions for the end of the fairy tale, because they're not going to get answered. So he asks the father to help him find Cinderella, and they have the bright idea of using an axe. Sharp objects are the original duct tape. They fix everything. They chop down the pigeon house.
All right, lady, allow me to show you the door. There's the door. Yeah, you better run. I'm calling my lawyer and you're paying for these damages.
Cinderella escapes and runs back home. She leaves her dress and shoes under the mom tree and is innocently sitting in the ashes when her family gets home. The next day goes about the same way. The family leaves for the festival. Cinderella sings to the bird and gets a dress that is more beautiful than the one before with shoes to match. She dances with the prince all night, but of course she forgot to think up a really good fake name. So when he once again tries to get to know her, the social anxiety is too much, and she runs out of there. This time, Cinderella hides in a pear tree in the castle garden.
Oh no, please no. We just got the blow-up nest in here. Okay, this is not happening. Not you again, lady. Oh my gosh. First I'm sifting through the ashes for you, then you get my house chopped down, and now you're in my backup house. This is not...
But the prince and her father have solved this problem before. An axe worked the first time, an axe will work another time. Cinderella runs away again, and again, her family suspect nothing. The next day, the prince decides that the mystery has lost its charm, so he comes up with a new plan. So he orders the steps to be covered in tar, maybe just the back steps, otherwise nobody could get in the building. Again, please hold all questions to the end of the story. Cinderella shows up in her most magnificent dress yet, and they dance all night until the inevitable. What if I gave you my number, and then you text me your name? Cinderella nopes out of there and manages to get through the tar, but is forced to leave one shoe stuck to the steps. The prince finds it and, for a moment, wonders if he's going to have to travel the land far and wide, trying this tiny shoe on every single woman across the kingdom.
Oh no, that's right. I met her father 2 days ago. I'll just go to his house tomorrow.
So the next morning, the prince comes a-knockin', and the stepsisters' happiness is only dampened slightly when they see the size of the shoe that will decide their marital future. When the older stepsister sits to try it on, it is predictably too small. But never fear. Remember, sharp objects are the original duct tape. And the stepmother tells her to cut off her toes, since she won't need to walk if she's princess. Princesses don't walk. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows. The prince was conveniently distracted by a butterfly or something and doesn't notice the sticky red stuff oozing out of the shoe, which now magically fits. So he puts her on his horse to go straight to their wedding. Little do they know that two birds in the mom tree are keeping a close eye on these two.
Is this the woman who caused your property damage? Nah, that ain't her. Although she was wearing that one shoe, but otherwise they look totally different.
Realizing his mistake and unsatisfied with his purchase, the prince goes to return the older stepsister, but unfortunately, he does not have the receipt.
Oh, no problem. We can reimburse you, but only in store credit.
So the prince asks the younger stepsister to try on the shoe, but wouldn't you just know it, her heel is just too darn big. Nothing a knife can't fix.
What in the world can that be?
The prince is distracted long enough for some more self-mutilation. And we're back on the incredibly well-drawn horse, and the prince gets all the way back to the mom tree before the birds point out his mistake again.
Nah. All wrong again. Who even organized this lineup?
Probably pretty discouraged at this point, the prince takes the younger stepsister back and asks if there is anyone else. Finally, the dad shows up out of nowhere in time to say,
Ah, yes, there's my daughter. Dear daughter / servant, our gross little Cinderella.
No! She's too ugly and gross. Don't look at her!
Just to prove a point, Cinderella goes for a quick glow-up, proving that it was her choice to be ugly and gross this whole time, and then sits to try on the shoe. Of course, it fits perfectly. No sharp objects required. Finally, the prince puts his true bride on his horse, and as they pass the mom tree, the two birds come and sit on Cinderella's shoulders.
Ma'am, I'm afraid we need to bring you in for questioning on suspicion of vandalism and property damage. You owe me a new house. 3-bedroom, 2.5 bird bath.
Of course, anything you want.
Sold! Let's hear it for Cinderella.
That's actually technically not my name.
Cinderella, 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 Cinderella.
So Cinderella and the prince return to the castle and are married on the spot and live happily ever after. Then wouldn't you just know it, the stepsisters come hobbling in on their crutches, even though they weren't invited to this closed reception, but suddenly it's all, "Oh, Cinderella, we're so sorry. We never meant to be mean to you. We're sorry you felt so attacked and belittled by us all day, every day, and we thought you liked the lentils game. We thought it was like our fun little thing. But now that you're gonna be queen, can we get in on that? Also, can you pay for our medical bills? It's kind of a lot." Little did the sisters know, but Cinderella's new bird security detail do not mess around, and they go straight for the eyes. That was a fun beginning. I do like this one. It is a classic and includes plenty of modern Cinderella iconography. The bird, the stepsisters, and of course, the shoe. But then there are also things that don't show up in modern adaptations, like the gifts from the fair, the mom tree, or the lentils in the ashes. But a few things stand out to me here. First, the ugly stepsisters idea is nowhere to be found. In fact, the story specifically states that they are beautiful, but it's their personalities which are ugly. In some ways, the idea that they could be objectively desirable makes the shoe test more logical. If the prince only knows that he's looking for a beautiful woman, it makes sense, it makes more sense that he could mistake the stepsisters for Cinderella. Although, no matter what, he comes out at best looking dumb, and at worst, pretty sexist. So, tough break. It's just funny to me that most of the time in newer adaptations, the stepsisters are specifically undesirable, even straight up annoying the prince, which means the shoe test is only ever for show, and he knows from the beginning that neither of these girls are the one he's looking for. I'd also like to take a moment to look at the mom tree. Yes, Look at it. Isn't it lovely? In almost every variant of Cinderella, the heroine gets some kind of magical help that is somehow associated with her dead mother. Often, like here, it's a tree over the mother's grave, but in other cases, it's an animal that is implied to actually be Cinderella's mother. And then there's a Russian variant where Cinderella gets help from a doll that was a gift from her mother. Then, of course, there's the classic fairy godmother from the French version, which has become one of the most recognizable and important characters from any Cinderella story. So clearly, the symbol of mother is very significant to this tale. The death of the mother incites the story, Cinderella's false mother or stepmother is the antagonist, and then the replacement mother figure helps Cinderella claim her happy ending. By contrast, the father figure is almost always unhelpful, if not a straight-up threat. In this case, it's hard to pin down the father's characterization. The mechanic of the story requires him to be complicit in the stepmother's treatment of Cinderella, but he does help her and the prince, leaving his characterization pretty vague. This can make it difficult for modern adaptations to explain the father's motivations. More often than not, they just kill off the father, but alternatively, they find other ways of incapacitating him. Notably, the one exception that I know of is Ella Enchanted, the book, not the movie. Sorry if you like the movie. I have feelings, don't even get me started. See, in the book, Ella's father is just a straight-up jerk who doesn't really care about anybody, so takes the stepmother's side when his daughter appeals to him for help. In the Grimm version, he isn't a jerk per se, since he does bring Cinderella what she asks for and actively helps the prince try to find her, but it's hard to say what his true goals are based on the text alone. I can't even be sure if he knows that Cinderella is the one the prince is looking for. Well, thank you for joining me on this, our first journey into the Cinderverse. Until next time, remember, be careful running away from uncomfortable social situations. You might be running away from becoming a princess. Also, don't cut off your toes.